Imagine the year is 2025. This is speculative fiction based on historical analysis, not advocacy or prediction. The snow lion flag flies over the Potala Palace for the first time in 70 years. Lhasa is free. Beijing is burning. The world's fresh water supply is now controlled by a newborn mountain nation, and the People's Liberation Army is marching back into Tibet with orders that make 1959 look gentle by comparison. One spark on the roof of the world just lit the fuse to the biggest geopolitical explosion of the century. This is the story of how Tibet leaves China, and how the world almost ends because of it. Stay until the final minute. The last 30 seconds will freeze your blood. Like and subscribe now. The plateau is about to erupt. 2024. The 15th Dalai Lama is secretly enthroned in Dharamsala at age 19 after the 14th dies in exile. Beijing refuses to recognize him and tries to impose its own puppet. Massive protests erupt across the Tibetan plateau, bigger than 2008. Simultaneously, the CCP is crippled by worst economic crisis since 1949. Youth unemployment at 45%. Property bubble finally bursts. Xi's chosen successor is quietly purged. In early 2025, a PLA garrison in Lhasa refuses orders to fire on monks. The mutiny spreads like wildfire across ethnic minority units. Within 72 hours, the entire plateau is lost to Beijing's control. India quietly airlifts weapons and recognizes Free Tibet first. The United States and half the G7 follow within a week. On 10th of March 2025, anniversary of the 1959 uprising, the Tibetan flag is raised over the Potala. The world cheers. China calls it the ultimate act of treason. And then the real nightmare begins. Beijing's response is immediate and medieval. All roads and rail lines into Tibet are destroyed by the PLA itself. Scorched earth retreat. The Brahmaputra, Mekong, and Salween rivers are dammed at their sources on the Tibetan plateau within months. Bangladesh and northeast India lose 70% of their dry season water overnight. 200 million people downstream face famine. India mobilizes 1.2 million troops to its northern border. China responds by forward deploying DF-41 ICBMs to occupy Qinghai. The world is now 72 hours from nuclear exchange at any given moment. Inside Tibet, PLA death squads conduct kill and burn operations in Kham and Amdo. Satellite footage shows entire valleys turned into free fire zones. Over 800,000 Tibetans flee into India and Nepal, the largest high-altitude refugee crisis in history. By winter 2026, the war has gone quiet, but something far worse is being prepared in secret. China realizes it cannot reoccupy 2.5 million kilometers down of mountains, so it weaponizes the plateau itself. Operation Sky River goes live. Hundreds of cloud-seeding drones permanently stationed over Tibet. Monsoons are redirected. Northern India turns to desert. Southern China gets double rainfall. Himalayan glaciers, the water tower of Asia, are laced with industrial soot to accelerate melting. By 2030, the Indus is a trickle. Pakistan loses 90% of its agriculture. India retaliates with Operation Snow Lion. Special forces destroy 3 megadams inside Tibet. Flash floods wipe out entire PLA divisions and half of Sichuan's hydropower. Beijing loses 15% of its electricity overnight. The United States imposes total sanctions. Russia stays neutral but quietly sells China food so it doesn't collapse. Global grain prices triple. Africa and the Middle East descend into famine riots. By 2035, the map has been redrawn in blood and ice. Free Tibet exists, but as a heavily armed Indian protectorate ringed by minefields and hypersonic missiles. The Tibetan plateau is the most militarized place on Earth. 1 soldier for every 3 civilians. China has fractured. Coastal megacities declare economic autonomy. The interior descends into warlordism. Taiwan declares independence and is immediately recognized by everyone. China's seat on the Security Council sits empty for the first time since 1971. The Dalai Lama returns to Lhasa in 2033 and dies of altitude sickness 6 months later, sparking a succession crisis that almost restarts the war. In 2025, the present day of this timeline, the world is locked in a new Cold War. India plus Free Tibet plus United States plus Japan versus China plus Pakistan plus North Korea. And the scariest part, both sides have stationed tactical nuclear weapons above 4,500 meters. One miscalculation on the roof of the world ends civilization. In our real 2024, China's economy is already cracking. The current Dalai Lama is 89. India has quietly forward-deployed 2 mountain strike corps. Beijing has built more dams on the Brahmaputra than the rest of the world combined. Everything needed for this timeline is already in motion. All it takes is one spark on the roof of the world. But here is the classified intelligence that has never been made public. In late 2024, a PLA colonel in Lhasa was caught live-streaming himself, burning his uniform and raising a snow lion flag. The video was deleted in minutes, but not before 300 million people saw it. Subscribe, because some fires once lit cannot be put out.